Well, hey there, welcome to Leadteach. If you're new, we are all about encouraging and equipping the Christian educator. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Our new content comes out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we would love to have you a part of our community so that we can refresh you as you walk out this calling to education. So we're in a series right now called What They Don't Teach Teachers. And today we're talking all about setting healthy boundaries. As always, I'm going to be sharing what I was not prepared for, my biggest fail, and my best strategy. So let's jump in. So some of you might be reading the title and thinking, teaching boundaries. What is this that you speak of? There's no such thing. But I want to clarify that it is possible to be a teacher and have a personal life at the same time. And we're going to unpack that later. But first I want to share what I was not prepared for in this whole world of setting boundaries in my job in education. Now, as always, remember that our workplace environments might be different and the expectations might be different, but in my experience coaching teachers, this idea of extra responsibilities that are placed on teachers and knowing how and when to say no is really essential if you want to be successful in education. So I'm actually going to break this topic down into two parts. The first one, which we're going to talk about today, is knowing your unique contribution in education. The second one is going to be all about identifying constraints to your workflow. It's going to be awesome. So let's jump into talking all things boundaries. Give this a like if you're excited, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's jump in. Okay, so I think what I was not prepared for the most was how normal it was for teachers to have multiple jobs at the school. If you don't get that, let me explain. Most teachers don't just show up at the beginning of the day, teach, and then leave at the end of the day. It's incredibly normal for teachers to have multiple things that they're involved in at the school. Drop me a comment below if you agree. So I was pretty shocked to learn that most teachers are also coaching, mentoring, they're sponsoring clubs, they're on planning committees, they're designing events for the school, they're involved in all these different things a part of the school. Now, sometimes there's an extra stipend. If anything, it's incredibly minimal that's attached to these jobs. But I guess what shocked me, or I wasn't prepared for, the expectation to be that you jump in and you find somewhere else to bring your strength. This might be super obvious for some of you, but for me, I was kind of like, I was hired to be a middle school English teacher, so I'm gonna go be great at that and let me know how I'm doing. So probably my biggest fail with all of this is not setting up those healthy boundaries up front and being really clear about my availability and my commitment right up front. So like in my interview, because I didn't understand this was a thing in education, I just confidently spouted out all my extra abilities and that I love theater and music and mentoring students and all these extra things. And I think that set up a weird precedent of expectations that I would be available to help with those things either with a paid or volunteered basis. So as the year progressed, I had to go in and have several really open, honest conversations with my principal, who was amazing, about resetting those boundaries and saying, hey, here's what I'm committing to, this is what I'm not available for, and moving forward like that. So I really wish that I had that clarity going into my teaching job, that like, you will be asked to do 1,000 extra things, and you really need to be clear of what you're gonna say yes to and what you're gonna say no to. Because schools really rely on teacher support. They just do. And again, if you agree, drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. They really rely on teachers fueling a lot of their programs and really coming alongside and building that energy and momentum that they have all year long. And I just didn't understand that. So being able to set clear boundaries up front so that everyone's expectations are good to go for the whole year. So here's where I want to take all of this. In order to set those boundaries in place, you have to know what your unique contribution is. You have to look around and say, what am I uniquely bringing to the table? You know, there's a lot of things that will eat up your time. Only you can specifically take that time and invest it into something. So often, teachers are not given permission to specialize in an area, to go be great at something, and to push back everything that will distract them from being great in that area. Let me tell you this, when you discover what your unique contribution is, you become passionate about defending it. So here's one of my best strategies. I took time to look at all the aspects of my teaching job and decide what I wanted to go specialize in. Which of these areas do I want to be known for? What do I want to go be great at? So for me, for example, one area that I wanted to be great at was creating classroom culture. I wanted students to have a memorable experience in my classroom. I wanted them to never know what I was going to pull off next. I wanted them to feel close to me, to feel seen and known and loved by me every single day. That meant a lot of things. That meant extra planning to create really innovative lessons and to spike my classroom day with something wacky. It meant that I needed mind space so that when I was sitting with a student, my heart and mind were open to receive and hear them fully. It took extra time. It meant that I gave up my lunches some days to just sit and hang out with students a little bit more so that they felt like I was accessible and that I was really there for them. It meant staying late after school to finish up an important conversation with a student. So, when opportunities presented themselves that would deplete my energy and my ability to do this area of my job, I had to take a hard look and decide, is that trade-off worth it? Is it worth saying yes to this opportunity in order to say no to this part of my unique contribution? And sometimes that meant saying no to extra money or an extra stipend that would really have helped me, but I wanted to get really serious and really focused on what I was great at. By following this method, I was able to do less but better, which is really a core principle of essentialism. I would highly recommend this book if you haven't read it already. Essentialism by Greg McKeown. It's phenomenal and very groundbreaking. By having a framework in place to say, this is my contribution, so this is essential to what I do, it allows you to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. I say yes to everything that's essential to my contribution, and I say no to everything that is non-essential to my contribution. Now, I'm going to go ahead and state the obvious that I'm not saying to say no to the mandatory things, even if you're like, well, that's not what I'm uniquely called to do. I'm talking about outside of the requirements. When you get to decide where your extra time, effort, energy goes, where are you sending them? Having a clarity of what you are great at and protecting that fiercely is going to do more for you in education than you can possibly know. I have a worksheet on this that I'm going to link below that will actually walk you through the process of discovering what your unique contribution actually is. And again, when you discover what this is, you will know how to practically defend it, what to say yes to, what to say no to, how to set up those healthy boundaries. Hey, I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you find breakthrough in this area. If you have not yet subscribed, do so now. Again, we have weekly fresh content coming at you. Come join our community. We would love to be a part of refreshing you as you walk out this great calling to education. Bless you, and we'll see you on the next one.